Hello, Adam here from Suitabuilt. We're at Pepper Tree Passive House today, and what we're doing is a blower door test. So this is a pressurized system. It's actually checking the performance of the building envelope. We've done this prior to starting to put linings on inside. Now we've got all of our services in. We've got our electrical, our plumbing and our heat recovery ventilation system. We're checking that all the penetrations are airtight still before we can seal those fully. So what is a blower door test? Essentially it is pressurizing the entire building to make sure it fits within passive house requirements, which is at 50 pascals, 0.6 air exchanges per hour. This isn't something that's very common in Australia. We actually don't even have this in the National Construction Code, also known as the Australian Building Code of Australia. But all over the world, America, Europe, United Kingdom, this is actually a requirement to have a house pressurized. So what it does is actually test the building performance. You would have heard of leaky house syndrome. I'm sure a lot of people watching can adhere to listening to the wind blow past their window and the whole thing rattling and a nice whistle through their house, or under some nice heritage houses that we work in, some nice draft coming through the floorboards. This isn't able to happen in a passive house. A passive house is fully separated from the external environment. So what it is essentially is controlling the internal environment to be able to use minimal to low energy to heat and cool your house. So you're not creating something that isn't normal in regards to being able to go outside and enjoy fresh air. It's essentially just creating a house that heats and cools itself without having to spend huge amounts of energy and money to be able to keep that perfect temperature, but also that comfort for your family and the health aspect as well. So the CSIRO have done a bunch of studies. They've tested a bunch of different houses all around Australia. The national average is actually 15.5 air exchanges per hour, which is pretty poor in regards to what we're achieving, which is 0.6. The average of the best cities are Adelaide, Brisbane and Hobart, which are lower down to 7.9 air exchanges or 8.5. Sydney, where we are, we're just south of Sydney in Wollongong, is a great 20.8 air exchanges per hour, so really substandard leaky houses. So our second blower door test, we actually got down to 0.56 air exchanges per hour, which is within the passive house guidelines. The easiest way to build a passive house is essentially a rectangle to be able to pressurize a house. So a rectangle on edge. What we have here is a very complex design, wrapping around a tree. It's very architectural, nothing. We've got triangles, I think we've got one square corner in the whole house. When I did my passive house tradesman course a couple of years ago down in Melbourne, I showed my lecturer from Germany, and he actually said, I don't think you'll be able to build this as a passive house. It is very difficult to build a smaller passive house opposed to a large area because there's a larger volume of air, which makes it easier to pressurize. So the smaller you go, the bigger the building envelope needs to be able to control that environment, because it becomes more volatile. So it's harder to heat, harder to cool. But what we have really thick walls, and we're just very fastidious in regards to everything that we do. So when we sealed this up and put our Intello membrane and all of our gaskets, we made sure that all of our trades, we inducted them all prior to working with us and made sure that they were all on board of how regimented we needed to be to make this a passive house. So we will be getting to passive house standards, and our second result of 0.56 is showing that we're way on track, and we still have the wall lining boards to go on, so it's going to be really good. So having a blower door test is something that hopefully in the future the Australian codes change and make this mandatory, because I feel like we build houses these days not knowing how they perform. It's kind of like going to buy a car and not knowing the litres per 100 kilometres of usage. If you were to go to a car lot and buy a vehicle and they said, how fuel efficient is it? And they couldn't tell you, would you buy it? Probably not, but this is something in Australia that we have a BASIX requirement, which is pretty mediocre, and we also have a NATOS rating, which misses a lot of crucial elements in regards to making sure a house can perform its best. But making sure that you can see how much your house is going to cost per square metre to heat and cool for the life cycle of the house should be a standard Aussie thing. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you soon.